Masechet Sanhedrin. We're a week before Rosh Hashanah, right? We're a week and a couple of 2 days. Wow, look at this. So we are at the end of Chodesh Elul. For those of you who've been doing Salichot every day, we're halfway through. Pretty amazing. And
last week, just to remind me.
what?
A recap on last week.
Yeah, okay, I'll do a recap from last week. So, David HaMelech had a deal with God. God gives him a choice. Choice number 1, you can be killed by your enemy, and your children will be saved. Choice number 2, you will be, let me give you the page, page 95B2, right? 95B2, right? Yeah. Choice number 2, you will have all of your children, or rather your offsprings, your descendants, that would be the more correct word, your descendants will be killed. Okay, so those are the 2 choices. Those are the choices that David HaMelech was given. And 1 second, I'm looking for the place. Okay, so David HaMelech initially he takes the first choice, that he will be killed by his enemy, which is Yishbi, the brother of Goliath. Remember Goliath, the giant? So his brother, who was also a giant, wants to kill David HaMelech. He captures David HaMelech. Then we saw how Abishai ben Zeruiah rescues David HaMelech, and he tells him that was a wrong choice. You should opt that your descendants be killed and you be saved. Now, it's an interesting question. Somebody raised a question last week. Dr. Rahavi raised a question. Is that proper? Meaning, is it fair of David HaMelech to say, let my descendants be killed and let myself be saved? You understand the question? Yeah. Well, so it's not an easy question. It's not. I don't know. But David HaMelech initially makes one choice, and then he makes another choice. And his descendants are killed, as we know. Almost all of them, except for one. So I would put it like this. If David HaMelech can live, and he can save himself, okay, so he saves himself. So now he's saying, you know what? My descendants are going to be killed. But his descendants are not going to be killed unless they deserve to be killed. Meaning God is not going to kill an innocent person. There's no such thing as an innocent person just dying, right? I think what David HaMelech is saying is, look, I have to worry. Im en ani li mi li. If I don't stand up for myself and I don't take care of myself, who will take care of me? My descendants, they can take care of themselves. They can choose to do good. They can choose. Meaning, even if there's a gezerah, let's say there's a gezerah, God says a gezerah, I'm going to destroy Nineveh. That was a gezerah, so he's going to destroy Nineveh. End of story. No, it's not the end of the story. The end of the story is that the people of Nineveh, they decide to make teshuvah, and they end up saving themselves. So the same way David HaMelech can save himself, his descendants can save themselves. You understand? I think that's the thinking. I think that's the proper thinking. I think nobody should choose death, personal death, and say, okay, my, because the children, the descendants, that's their lives. And they have the choice to be good. And apparently what happened, that the family of David HaMelech, all the descendants were killed by this crazy woman, Atalia. It reminded me of this empress in China. She was initially the concubine of the king. The king died, she was thrown into jail, then she became friendly with the new queen. Eventually she got her into the royal family, and they took her out of jail. And she becomes very powerful, and then she kills her own children. Because she wants to retain the power, and she kills everybody. She's a crazy woman. She finally let her youngest son live because he wasn't so smart anyway, so she wasn't worried about him getting power. I forgot what she was called. I can never remember Chinese names. I'm sorry. They all seem the same. And again, maybe for Chinese, the English names all seem the same. I don't say that as an elitist comment, but I can't remember Chinese names. But be that as it may, she was known as the Empress Queen of China. And she was ruthless, killed everybody. I think at the age of 80, they finally removed her from her post. So this lady, Atalia, reminds me a lot of that woman, a crazy woman, right? She kills everybody. She's obsessed. But there's one person that Atalia doesn't kill, and that was Yoash. Yoash was hiding in the Kodesh HaKodashim, and eventually as he grows up and he's ready to take over the reins of power. He is taken out of the Kodesh HaKodashim, out of the Bet HaMikdash. They present him, and Atalia is killed, and he becomes a king. So this one descendant of David Melech, that's what we were up to last time. Okay, so if you see where the gray bar is on the side, Batakom, you see that? The word Batakom, the first word on the line?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. And now we're going to start where we are at. And give me a moment, I want to find it myself. Here we go. So that pasuk, right? So it says Vatakom. I can't find it. Vatakom. Vataabed et kol zera. Vatakom. Vataabed et kol zera hamamlacha. So this woman, she kills all the descendants of David HaMelech, and so it is. So the Gemara says, and this is, we did this last week, but just to kind of dive into it. Veha ishtayel le Yoash. Yoash was saved, the one who was in the Kodesh HaKodashim was a baby, and he was raised by the Kohen Gadol in the Holy of Holies. Hatam name ishtayel Eviatar. So the answer is because when Shaul massacred the city of Nov Ir Kohanim, he killed everybody, but there was one little child that was able to run away, and he ran away, and his life was saved. So, because there was somebody left from Nov Ir Kohanim, a child, there was somebody left from the descendants of David HaMelech, a child, right? So very, very precise. Dichtiv v'yimalet, as a pasuk says, v'yimalet ben Achal Achimelech ben Achituv u'shmo Aviatar. That's a pasuk that says that this child was saved from the Kohanim. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, in male nishtayer Aviatar le'Achimelech ben Achituv. Lo nishem ezarot shel David saridu palit, and he says, the Gemara says explicitly, if it wasn't for the fact, don't think, oh, it's David HaMelech, he has special protection for God, everything's going to be okay. No, the Gemara says, if it wasn't for the fact that this one child was saved from Nov Ir Kohanim, nobody would have been saved from David HaMelech. Meaning, people think, they have this this idea, everything is guaranteed. It's all guaranteed. And what this Gemara is telling us, there's no guarantees. I spoke about this in my podcast. I don't know if any of you saw the interview. They interviewed me on Judaism Demystified. And one of the things I said, and I think it was a mistake that we made, we were so sure of ourselves as Jews, and we're so sure that everything is good, we're back, we're in Israel, God is making miracles, nothing can go wrong. We all thought that, right? We all thought nothing can go wrong. We always say never again, never again. Of course, we meant it. But something went wrong. October 7th, something went very wrong, meaning we were sure that when we left Gaza, nothing can go wrong. It's okay, don't worry, God is with us. So the point of the Gemara is, even David HaMelech could have potentially lost all of his descendants, and there would be no Malchut Beit David. They'll be like, we're waiting for the Mashiach. Who's the Mashiach? The Mashiach is a descendant of this one child. But that one child might have been wiped out. But for the fact that the Kohen, that Eviatar Kohen, who was a child, was saved, and that's what kept David HaMelech's dynasty going. So just think of that. It's a crazy idea. This idea of let's just rely on a miracle, everything will be okay. Yeah, we believe in miracles, of course, but you can't rely on a miracle, and you can't rely on everything will be okay, because many times everything is not okay. Okay. So that's the lesson of the Gemara. Let's continue. Any questions? Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. So now it's going to start describing some details about this war. And I want to tell you that in Jewish history, there were 3 major battles. Okay? The first battle that took place was the battle of Avraham Avinu, where you have in Parashat Lech Lecha, you have there the war of the 4 kings against the 5 kings, right? It says, "Vahi bimeh Amrafel melech Shin'ar al Yoch melech Elasar kedol ha'omer melech Goyim kedol ha'omer melech Elam et al melech Goyim asu milchama im Bera," and it has a whole list of all the countries, 4 kings that did a war against 5 kings, including Sodom and Amorah, but there was 5 cities there. So they come into Israel. They come from the area of what today is, let's say, Iraq, maybe even eastern part of Iraq, closer to Iran, okay? And they come and they make a war in Israel against the 5 kings in Israel. Now that war was fought by Abraham Avinu because Abraham Avinu wasn't the main character in the war. This was a world war. But what happened? They took Lot. So Abraham Avinu enters the battle. That battle is one of the 3 major wars. I'm going to explain in a minute why I say that. Now, Abraham Avinu was born, Machloket, some say 1948, some say 1949. Let's go by 1948. That's what Rashi says. That's one of the standard things. Do you know what year, and when I say 1948, of course I mean the Hebrew calendar, right? 1948 to the Hebrew calendar. Do you know what year the war of that world war starts? Oh, you don't know? 2023. In fact, when I was writing this down, because I used to study this I was 25 years ago, I was even more. I was studying the book of Daniel, I decided to make like a calendar, and I actually made like an asterisk next to 2023, and I said, note to self, war in Israel, something like that. I just, by the way, I forgot that I even wrote that, incidentally. I just have to say, I forgot that I wrote that. What happened is, after October 7th, I just started looking at my old notes, and I was sitting there one Friday night, I don't know if you remember, right? It was Friday night, we're sitting there, and I'm just thinking, okay, so like just looking at the different years, Yosef was in jail in this year, you know, I have a whole like list, Adam Arishon, Noah, the whole thing. I get to 2023 on the Hebrew calendar, and like I see an asterisk, I say, what did I write on that asterisk? Like, war in Israel, like, okay, like this is like really scary stuff, because that was a major war. So I just, in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, the state of Israel born 1948, Abraham Avinu born 1948, right? So I said 2024, logically, Israel will be embroiled in this massive war. And just so you know, the war with Hamas, Israel is a side player in this war. I intentionally brought you the story of the 4 kings against the 5 kings. So what's happening in the world geopolitically is we're at the beginning of World War III. I don't mean to scare anybody or to intimate that World War III will be like World War II, where there was soldiers and all that. I don't know. I don't know whether World War III will be fought like World War II. It may not. Okay, just so again, my purpose here is not to cause panic, and it could very well be that the way the war will be waged, World War III, is different than the way World War II was waged. So it's a possibility, right? And there's also other less appealing possibilities. But okay, put those on the side. The point I'm saying is that there is a war going on now. The war is you have, on the one hand, you have the United States, you have NATO, right? On the other side, you have Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. Okay? Turkey is ambiguous because they're part of NATO, but who knows? Maybe they won't be part of NATO. Let's see what happens. Maybe they'll end up attacking Greece or Cyprus. We'll see. Okay? We'll see what happens. Interesting question, by the way. So, in this huge geopolitical battle that's already taking place, by the way, the war in Ukraine is just part of that war. Now, the war is going to take other surprising turns that nobody would have given, like nobody sitting on the table would expect, such as Venezuela invading a small country to get their oil and then threatening the Panama Canal. Put that on the side. I'm just putting it here. It's on the recording. You heard it. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I know you will think, oh, that's crazy stuff. Like, what is he even talking about? Okay. I'm just putting it as a possibility. It's not something that will definitely happen, but I'm giving you the just a geopolitical landscape. There's a lot of places in the world where there are these minor battles. Now, the battle between Hamas and Israel is not between Hamas and Israel. It's between Iran using a proxy, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, right? And Israel, which is a proxy of the United States. Meaning similar to the war where they took Lot as a hostage, right? In this case, Abraham Avinu, the state of Israel, is being embroiled in a much larger geopolitical battle that's taking place It's not just about Israel, just so you know that. It's not, all right? It's about much more, something that is way larger than Israel. And that's why Israel is desperately trying to make an agreement with Saudi Arabia. Actually, I want to flip that. Saudi Arabia is desperately trying to make an agreement with Israel because Iran is going to take over Saudi Arabia. They're not going to tolerate them. Iran are Shiites, Saudi Arabia are Wahhabi Sunnis. They're not going to tolerate them. So they're going to, so this, I'm just giving you like some of the broad, so the first war was Abraham Avinu. Okay. The second war was Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin was the second war, which is compared to what I'll describe soon as the third war, where Sanhedrin, there's a huge geopolitical earthquakes going on, and Sanhedrin not only takes over all of the region around his part of the world, let's call it. His capital is in the city of Nineveh, which is in Iraq, but he destroys all of the 10 tribes. He's the one who destroys the 10 tribes. He literally destroys the Jewish presence in the land of Israel. The only thing left is the city of Jerusalem. All of the cities around Jerusalem were destroyed by him. Just so you get a sense, it's crazy. Now imagine you live in Jerusalem, everything is destroyed, there's nothing left. Jerusalem is the only city left. Okay, it's basically over. And then this huge miracle happens, and that's what we're reading about today. The third war, so these three wars are comparable. The third war is the one of Gog and Magog, which I believe we might be in now. The war of Gog and Magog, where the world is at war, and Israel gets embroiled in the war, and eventually things get kind of nasty, and they look bleak, and then the Mashiach comes after the war, not after the war. The Mashiach is the one who defends the land of Israel from the enemies that invade the land of Israel, and he's the one who turns everything around. So just give you like the lay of the land. So these three wars are interrelated. So by reading about the war that we're reading now of Sanhedrin, we're learning about the war of Yemot HaMashiach, of Gog and Magog. You understand the idea? So that's what's happening. That's what's happening now. So this is what we're going to be reading about. This is what we're reading about. We're reading about this particular battle that took place then. So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, בא עליהם סנחריב הרשע ו45,000 איש בני מלכים יושבים בקרונות של זהב. He says something very interesting. He says that when Sanhedrin came to invade Israel, he came with 45,000 aristocrats, the sons of kings, meaning from different nations. They're different nations. They joined Sanhedrin. The aristocracy of different nations joined Sanhedrin. It was kind of like, I would call it a group of global elites, if I can use like a modern terminology, right? 45,000 global elites, and they were sitting in chariots of gold. And these are people, of great prominence, right? The imahim shiglonot, they had their wives, vizonot, and they had their concubines, right? Just using that word because I don't want to use another word. We're in the synagogue, right? So I'm going to explain what this means in a moment. They came with their wives, they came with their concubines, and these chariots of gold. Okay, so there's 45,000 of those. In addition, וב80,000 גיבורים לבושי סיריון כליפה. Then they had 80,000 elite fighters that had special armor, a special armor on them. So these were armored fighters, okay. And then in addition, so they had the 45,000 global elites. They had the 80,000 elite fighters with armor. וב60,000 אחוזי חרב. And then they had 60,000 people who had swords. Rasim lefanav. So they had, and they were the ones running in front with this front line. Yes, thank you. Rasim lefanav. V'hashe'ar parashim, and the rest of the people who came was the cavalry. So the parashim are the cavalry. V'chen ba'u al Abraham, and this happened with Abraham Avinu. So when Abraham Avinu was being attacked, right, or Lot was taken hostage, Abraham Avinu was dealing with a crazy army. It was a global conglomeration of different kings and different aristocrats all joining this battle, right? In the days of Abraham Avinu. V'chen atidim lavo Gog uMagog. And this is what's going to happen in the days of Gog uMagog. Meaning, people say who Gog uMagog is. Who's Gog uMagog? I have a theory, but whoever Gog uMagog is, he's not alone. That's the point. He's going to come with a coalition of different countries are going to join Gog uMagog, and then eventually they're going to enter Israel. So it's not just one.
Gog Magog is one nation.
All right, so Gog is
like two different things.
Yeah, so Gog is the name of the king, and Magog is the name of his country. Now we know that Noah.
Not two different.
No.
They go against each other.
No, there's going to be different kings there. There's going to be Meshech, Tuval, like it has a whole list of countries.
I thought Gog is a separate nation.
No. Gog is Melech Magog.
Russia and America.
No. Gog is Melech Magog. Yeah, Gog is Melech Magog. It says explicitly in Yehezkel. Gog Melech Magog. So who is Gog? I think he's the king of the Amalekites. Why do I say that? What's the name of the king of the Amalekites? Agag. Now in Persian, you tend to swallow the aleph. What are you left with? Gog. So he's the king of the Amalekites. So who is this king? Who is?
So it's Persia, Iran.
You tell me. I don't know. Persian, right? They swallow the aleph, and they're the modern day Amalekites. I mean, the cruelty they exhibited was beyond belief. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm speculating. I could be completely off on this, but I think that Gog is definitely an Amalekite king. Is it Persia? Is it Iran? Maybe something else. Maybe China will join them. I don't know. Could be. China will join him. Who knows what's going to happen? The world is crazy. But that's the idea. So you see how the Gemara, it ties in these three wars? I didn't just tie it in just like that. Like I'm letting you know. It'd be interesting to figure out the year that took place. I didn't put that on my calendar. Meaning the year that Sanhedrin invades comes to Jerusalem. That'll be like another project. Go ahead. I'm sorry, young man.
Rabbi Ishmael also be part of this Gog and Magog?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a Mizmor Tehillim that goes into the coalition of forces. It gives you the full coalition of all the things. But the truth is, there's Ishmael that. Okay, I'm giving you my own opinion. You asked me my opinion. I think Ishmael is Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, that whole part of the world, which are willing to make peace with the Jews, and we see Dubai, United Arab Emirates made peace. Saudi Arabia wants to make peace. So, but then you have the other, like the Palestinians and the Arabs who are not what? The gypsies. Yeah, the Noah, as we say. And I think that these Palestinians, I think they're the descendants of the Canaanites. I don't think they're descendants of Abraham Avinu, personally. Okay. All right. So yes, did I answer your question? Sure. Okay. So let's continue. Let's continue. So so you see the Gemara is making the connection. It wasn't it was the Gemara's connection. All right. So now, all right. So these guys are coming in these chariots of gold, and what is this? They're coming with their the wives, the concubines, all that. So, what does that mean? You know what I think it means? I think they enjoy attacking the Jews. They enjoy it. I think for them it's not like a regular war. They're coming in gold chariots, and it's a big celebration. Everybody's joining in the party, right? It's like it's a certain type of, how shall I put this, a sadistic attitude where you celebrate all the bad stuff, right? It's similar to what we saw, unfortunately, in October 7th. Yeah, I'll get to you in a moment, right? But you understand the idea? That's the idea of them all coming in these with the woman and this and that. It's like, are you coming to a war or are you coming to a party? Like, which is it? Well, I guess it's kind of like a party for them. They think they kill all the Jews and they're really happy about it. Jeffrey.
So, what if we were reading this 150 years ago?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we think that the Ottoman Empire might have been...
They were very good with the Jews.
I'm sorry. The destruction, forget about the 150 years ago. The destruction of the Bet HaMikdash.
Yeah.
Couldn't that have been the third war in those days? Wouldn't they be thinking that?
Yeah,
That it
so
wasn't, 'cause we're
they
still going?
didn't associate it with that. Meaning, even then, because we have the Gemara, we have the Midrashim, nobody associates Rome with Gog and Magog. They associate Roman Empire with Edom. Always, Rome is associated with Edom, Esav. Right? They're never associated with Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog was always a futuristic vision. So, and by the way, if anything, it proves the point. Meaning the fact that nobody said in the days of the Roman invasion of Israel, oh, this is Gog and Magog, this is the Nebuah of Yehezkel, the Nebuah of Zechariah. If anything, it strengthens the idea that we're getting there now. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. There's a baraita that says the following, and this is hyperbole, and I don't know what it means. I'm just going to tell you what we're reading, but I don't know what it means. So it says like as follows: Machanehu alba me'od parseh. The military, the size of the army that came to attack Jerusalem was 400 parsaot. So let me tell you what a parsa is. So each parsa is arba'a milim. So each mil is about, let's say, 968 meters. That's a little under a kilometer. Let's just say a kilometer. So if you have, each parsa is 4 kilometers. So 400 parasot will be 1,600 kilometers, if I still remember my elementary school math, which I think I did. All right, so 1,600 kilometers. So the length of the invading force was 1,600 kilometers. This, of course, is hyperbolic, but what does it mean? Why 400? You understand the question? I don't know. But okay, let's continue. Rohab Savar Susav Albaim Paseh. Now, when he came, they had the parashim, the horsemen, right? So the width, like they had all the horses, they were like charging towards Jerusalem, and like it wasn't like one horse in back of another and back of another. They formed like this huge wide line of horses, which was 40 parasaot. So that would be 160 kilometers. Wow. Okay, so again, but you see the number 40 again? Interesting. You have 400, and then you have 40. Okay, let's continue. Sach machanehu 260 ribo alafim. And if you look at the total number of soldiers in this army was 260 times 10,000. Haser had, a minus one, meaning 2,600,000 soldiers. That's a lot of soldiers. 2,600,000 minus one. I'm going to get to that in a moment. This I can explain. I'll explain to you what this number means in a moment. It says minus one. You notice? 26,000. It says, again, I'm going to read it. 260 ribo, 260 times 10,000, right? 2,600,000 minus one. And then the Gemara says, when you say minus one, do you mean minus 10,000? Oh, Haser Had, Alpha, maybe it's minus 1,000, or Haser Me'ah, maybe it's minus 100, or Haser Had, or minus 1. Teko, we don't know. Okay. What is the Gemara talking about? So, I'll tell you what this means. Okay. 26. What is 26? Yeah. So they had the biggest army in the world. Minus one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. But they didn't have God with them. So they can have millions and millions of soldiers. And they can have an army 1,600 kilometers, just the length of the army, and a crazy number of horses. Minus one. If you don't have God with you, minus one, and we have one, we're going to win the war. You see that? That's what we say, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We have the one. They're missing the one. That's why we always win. You get it? So that's what's happening in this Gemara. All right? Let's continue. Tana says, continuing It's continuing in this hyperbolic description of how big the army was. Right? But you notice how they insert the meaning in the middle of the midrash, right? So kind of like they're trying to dissimulate it, right? Kind of trying to hide it. But then if you think about it, then you get the idea. So Tana, there's a beraita that says, Rishonim averu b'shechi. Now, when they came from Iraq to Israel, they had to cross the Jordan River. Now back then, the Jordan River was much larger and much more prominent. Today, because of irrigation, agricultural purposes, it's not quite what it used to be. When the Mashiach comes, it will return to its glory days. Anyway, when they had to cross the Jordan River, the first group of soldiers that had to cross the Jordan River, it was a raging torrent. So Aviru Bashech means they had to swim. They had to swim across the river. Shneimar, as the pasuk says in the book of Isaiah, Ve'halav bihuda shataf ve'avar atzavar yagia. He would pass into Judea. Judea is where the city of Jerusalem is. He's going to be swept away, meaning by the river, and he's going to be swimming up to his neck. He's going to be like just trying to stay his head above water, and eventually they will make it out of the water, and that first group of soldiers makes it out of the Jordan River. That's the first group of soldiers. Let's see the second group of soldiers. Emsa'im, the middle group. Second group. Averu b'komam. There was less water in the river. Because when the first group went in, there were so many soldiers and they were drinking water from the river. So the second group doesn't have to swim anymore. They were able to walk across. Right? Okay, Shneimar. Ad savar yagia. The second group, the water would just reach up to their neck. So they're able to walk. Aharonim, by the time the last group came, there were so many soldiers that there was no water left in the river. So everybody is drinking the water of the river, and by the time the last group came, Elul afar beraglehem, there was no water left, and all that was left was a dry riverbed. And therefore, when they were walking on a dusty road. Velo maseu mayim banahar lishtot. They found no water in the river to drink. So much so that they had to bring water from another place, veshatu, so they can drink. Shneimar ani karti veshatiti mayim be'achri bechaf be'amai kol yoreh maso. That's the first full pasuk. It says, I came in, I entered the water. At first the water was cold. I was able to drink, but I dried it up. What is this talking about? What is this talking about? And it's talking about the following. The purpose of these wars, and the purpose of almost all the wars, I don't want to say all of them, but the vast majority of battles is about a rapacious desire for resources. Wars are fought for resources. I'm not saying this to defend Putin. He's not my uncle. I don't like him. Surprise. I don't like ruthless dictators in general. I have no love lost for Putin. But the reason he's fighting the war with Ukraine is because Ukraine has wheat. Wheat. They need the wheat. They need the wheat of Ukraine. Now, I don't like him. Please don't say, oh, the rabbi likes Putin. I do not like Putin at all. Okay? Now, it's not just for the wheat. There is a huge plain between Ukraine and Russia, and there is a main road. There's a 300-kilometer road there where all of the imports into Russia of food and various other necessities go through that road. So, meaning, if Ukraine goes into NATO, I'm giving you the Russian perspective. Again, I'm not saying this to defend Russia. I am not defending Russia, please. I'm explaining to you that wars are fought over resources. The reason this war is being fought is not because of, Russia has nationalistic, where we love, Mother Russia, and America says, no, we love NATO. No, they're fighting over resources. They all know what the war is about. They won't tell you on the news. They won't tell you on Fox News. They won't tell you on CNN. They won't tell you on any of the news stations what the real reasons for the war are. The reason for the war is natural resources and nothing more. The Goyim have a rapacious appetite for resources. They'll come into the river, they'll drink all the water, They'll destroy the river, turn it into a dry riverbed. And what are they going to do when they finish with that river? We want to find more water to drink. Because it's not enough that we took all the water from this river, we're now gonna find the next place to get water from. You understand? So let's understand. These goyim, they always preach to us. Why do we fight for wars? To defend ourselves. We don't want our babies to be killed. That Jews fight wars because they don't want their babies to be killed and other stuff related to that. Okay. The goyim fight wars because they want resources and they're never happy with the resources they have. They always want more and more and more. By the way, Russia is one of the most richest mineral resources in the whole world. Okay, so Russia wants wheat, we want their mineral resources. Do with it what you want. Again, I don't like dictators. I actually dislike dictators. Starting with the fascists who ruled over Germany in World War II, and then the other fascists in Italy, and the other fascists in Japan, Yamach Shemo Hitler, Yamach Shemo Mussolini, Yamach Shemo whatever, Togo, that was his name, right? Okay, did I get that right? But that's what the war is about. All right. So this is a great Gemara. This Gemara is fantastic. The best political commentary I ever read about why wars are fought. Let's stop here, 9:12, okay? Good? That's it. I think 9:12. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, let's say we say Kaddish. Anybody want to say?